What's up, guys? So today is a watering day and I'm going to show you how to properly water your plants. We'll go through signs to look for among different varieties. Each variety is going to give slightly different signs of when they need to be watered. So I'll show you what to look out for so you're not under or over watering. And we'll also look at bottom versus top watering, what works for you. And then we'll also look at soil, so when you can tell you have a really well draining soil versus not. And then I'll just kind of show you my process when I water, because I do have a fair amount that I'm watering today, so you'll see how I do that. And I think that covers it, so let's get into it. So what you need: water. I don't do anything fancy. I don't use rainwater. I don't filter my water. That's just doing a lot for me. I also don't have any like crazy sensitive plants, so I can get by with just regular tap water. I definitely keep filling those up as I go because it does not last me. This is my largest watering can. I pour from there into here and then water. It's a little tedious, but it makes for a less messy session. And then tons of these, which I honestly could use more, but these are godsend when you're watering. Okay, so we're gonna look at the first way to tell when you need to water, and that is by looking at the foliage. I find this to be the easiest way. So we'll look at the droopiness. This Mandula is very droopy. The leaves usually do not hang over like this. They just look sad, deflated. This Scindapsus, this Exotica, same thing. We got some droopiness. These varieties, the Pothos Scindapsus, are very well known. They make it very easy to know when you need to water, pretty much. So this guy needs some water. Also, the leaves will start curling in. That's another sign besides droopiness. On this Scindapsus, this variety, we can see it definitely needs some water. All those leaves are curled in. This neglected squill is very droopy and sad, needs water. Besides the droopiness of the plant, you can also look at other signs. So I don't know if this will pick up on camera, but the leaves are very wrinkly on this ivy. We have this Hoya right here, and it's a little bit, so like we have a couple leaves that are folding in on themselves and they're very bendy. So for this variety, usually these leaves are a little bit more stiff, but I can easily bend these, like the taco test. I can bend them very easily. They don't normally move like that. That means it's thirsty. When it gets really bad, these will start to show some wrinkles in the leaves. Here's another example. Very curled in, droopy looking. And sometimes it doesn't even matter because you still wait too long. So this was a cutting of a, what is it? Vitesia japonica, something like that. And I left it out to water. Also, you can definitely tell because the soil shouldn't be like that. It should not easily just come out in one chunk, but it might come back after watering. I don't know. All right, second way to tell is just by feeling the weight of the plant themselves. And I know you won't be able to really tell on camera how heavy these plants are, but I can feel that they're very light, which means the soil is completely dried out. That's not how they normally feel weight-wise. Same with this variety, this Enjoy. The leaves are not curling up yet, but I don't really want to always wait till that point, but I can feel that it's very light. Also, side note, if you struggle with telling whether you need to water or not, like if this weight test doesn't really help you out, you're still second guessing, it's much easier to tell if your plants need water when they're in these nursery pots, the plastic ones, versus terracottas or ceramic like this, because these pots already have some weight on them versus these that have literally almost no weight. So you can tell the difference. You won't be like, is it just the pot that's heavy or is my soil still wet? It makes it a little easier. Third way is a finger check. The alternative would be using a moisture meter. I don't have one. I never really felt the need for one, at least personally, but they definitely can help, especially if you're a little unsure. So without a moisture meter, all you do is take your plant, put your finger in as deep as you can go, first few inches, and then you'll be able to see there's almost no soil on my finger, which means that the soil is dry. If we're looking at this Micans, and I do the same thing, a finger check, you'll see that there's much more soil. It's a little bit more damp. It's not soaking wet, but it is definitely not ready to be watered. Now we're actually gonna water. So I have my watering can filled up and my thirsty plant. So when I water, I don't normally hold it this high up, but I'm going to show you what a well-draining soil should look like. So as I'm watering, this one was really thirsty actually. You'll see it drip out pretty quickly, and that is a good sign that it is thoroughly watered. If you have kind of bad draining soil, it will stay clogged up. That one was pretty quick. And holding too much water might seem like a good thing, like, oh, I'm watering my plants that they want, but it can easily lead to root rot, water logging of the plant. Nobody wants that. All right, this guy needs to be watered. I'll move it into its own tray. I already did my soil check, but you pretty much do the same thing. We'll look out for the bottom. Wait till you see water coming out of the bottom of the pot. And that will mean that you're good to stop watering. So watering that way that I was doing is just normal top watering. If you want to bottom water, you will need any sort of container. You can use not a plate though, you need like a bowl, something with sides. This big container works fine. You can use cups, pots, anything works pretty much. And what I would do is put some water in here. Let's say this very thirsty guy, you would just place it in the water. This is kind of a lot for one little container. Normally I would put many more plants in here. And the plant is going to pull the water from the bottom, which is why it's called bottom watering. It's gonna pull the water from the bottom to the top, and you just leave it in there for a few hours. So this is convenient if you are kind of busy, you have a lot to do, and you don't want to sit here and water all your plants. You can just fill a bunch of containers, put your plants in them, and then leave, go about your day. And for the most part, within a few hours, depending on the soil, how the consistency of it, how well draining it is, depending on the size of the plant, it will be ready to go. So a few things to keep in mind with watering is it's kind of impossible to try and say, oh, Sundays are my set watering days, or Wednesdays are my set watering days. I'm gonna water all my plants every single Sunday, every single Wednesday, because all these plants have such different needs that you will likely end up killing some of your plants. So this calathea, for example, it prefers a moist soil. And if I watered this at this, what am I saying? If I watered any of my other plants, like let's say my Hoya, if I watered this Hoya every single time I watered this calathea just because I want to do it all on the same day, I would probably kill my Hoya. Just listen to your plants, like look out for these signs and water them when they're telling you that they need to be watered, not just when it's kind of convenient for your schedule. So bottom and top watering, there is no right or wrong answer. It's whatever works for you. I used to only bottom water, and that was when I did not have as many plants as I do now. So now it is kind of more work to bottom water. I will say if you bottom water, you are going to be less susceptible to getting gnats, and the soil won't really stay soaked up on the top for as long because it's just going to grab what it needs from the bottom. Another thing with watering is if you have sensitive plants, so this is probably my most sensitive, my calathea, which is why I only have one. It does not really like its foliage to be soaked, especially if it's going to be put back into a sunny spot. It burns very easily. So when I do water this plant, I am mindful to just water down here, or if I am going to spray it down, I will wait for it to completely dry the leaves before putting it back into its sunny spot. Whereas my other plants, I don't really care if the foliage gets wet. Last thing I want to say, and arguably the most important, is with watering, it comes down to each plant and its individual environment. So I might water my Hoya once every 2-ish weeks. Someone else might have the exact same plant, relatively same size, and maybe they water theirs once every week or once every 4 days even. But that does not mean I will start watering mine once every 4 weeks. Maybe they keep theirs right by a southern window or in direct light. It gets way more sunlight, so the soil is going to dry out faster, whereas mine isn't even under a southern window. So if I water it that same amount as that other person, I might kill my plant. So if a blog post is telling you the philodendron Congo red likes to be watered when the top few inches of the soil is dry, which is true, and they recommend once a week. Don't just blindly water yours once a week. When that time comes up every week, look at your plant and see if the soil is still damp, very wet, whatever. No matter how you decide to check it, just wait. Wait until it's actually dry. Don't just think it's by the book. This said once a week, so I have to do it once a week. Plants are ever changing and their environments are going to greatly change their needs. And I am by no means telling you to ignore everything you read. Definitely research your plant, where it comes from. Does it live in a desert-like environment? Does it live in the rainforest? What kind of sun is it usually getting? Does it live in very clay-like soil? Is it drought tolerant? All these things are going to determine how you take care of your plant. But just because someone says in their home that they water this plant once a week does not mean you are going to water yours once a week. So just keep their natural habitats in mind, and the advice you do read, keep that in mind, but just know that it's not going to be the same across the board for every plant. And if you're really unsure about whether to water a plant, my best advice is to wait. It is better, in my opinion, to underwater than to overwater. If you underwater, most plants are kind of forgiving, and I do think damage control for the plant is like 10 times easier when it is from being underwater than overwatered. Root rot is not fun to deal with. Most plants have a very hard time bouncing back from that, and in my experience, you lose a lot more of the foliage when plants are overwatered versus underwater. Okay, I swear that's it. I'm done talking. I think that covers everything with watering. If you found it helpful, if you made it to the end of the video, thank you. Give me a comment, a like, a subscribe, all the above. I'd appreciate it. And I hope you guys have a good one, and I'll see you in my next video.